Okay, Srivatsa, earphones.
I put it there. Connect it.
This is yesterday, sir. I was like,
One by got the address. One by got the address.
Technology.
guys,
You
the
sit
noise
down.
is
Started, started. It's coming.
It's connected.
Yeah, connect. Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the live stream.
Yeah, it started. You can go
The
ahead.
link?
Just come. Link I'll send. You send.
Just want to
Send the live link.
Okay, one minute.
one person wants to have the link as well.
I'll send.
Yeah, I got it. So, I shared the PDF in the group so you can follow it. Basically, I'll also follow this on PDF. शुक्लांभरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये व्यासं वसिष्ठनप्तारं शक्तेः स्तोत्रमकर्मशं पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शिवतारं तपोनिधिं व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधे वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतं कलं श्रुतमुखारबुद्धं विगतभागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भूमिभावुका नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् तथा गमेकदिव्येन समतीतक्षराक्षरं नारायणं सदा वन्दे निर्दोषाशेषसद्गुणं कान्ताय कल्याणगुणैर्गये गुणाः श्रीवेङ्कटनिवासाय श्रीनिवासाय ओम नमो नारायणाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय श्रीमदानंदतीर्थ भगवत्पादाचार्य नमः. So, shall begin today's discussion on the Bhagavata. Our agenda today will be the 26th chapter in the 5th canto, chapters 15 through 23 in 8, 4 and 5, 9, 10, 11 and 19 of the 9th canto. So, I chose a rather unusual topic in the Bhagavata, the Naraka Vivarnana, which is which many preachers avoid in their philosophical discourses. The reasoning there, they feel that the portrayal of the Narakas, their harshness, the unpleasant imagery and the gruesome punishments, it makes it really unsuitable to discuss in a public forum. But I consider that such avoidance and omission is a very prejudiced approach towards the scripture, and that I shall explain further. So whenever we approach any scripture, such as the Bhagavata or any sacred text, we must have a very proactive and reverential mindset, and there is nothing that is unsuitable or vulgar about any of its parts. So our intent should be to learn and grow out of it, and we must look at it with more analysis, and it should be a challenge and with a purpose. My main feeling is that in this chapter, it is quite true that the knowledge of the Narakas is rather is not of much utility to us in our journey in this life. But in that chapter, a very another important thing has also been discussed, which is classifying the different actions of us as wrongdoings. And this is quite important for us because many people who consider themselves as religious today, who sincerely are religious, often they classify actions as good or bad on their own personal intuition, logical reasoning, and on the pre-existing moral framework that they have. And many philosophers have repeatedly warned us that such self-made morality is fundamentally flawed, and many philosophers, the Vedanta Acharyas, have given detailed discussions and why this should be avoided and why we should read the scripture and not make conclusions out of ourselves, even when we truly want to go in the path of righteousness. So, therefore, dedicating time in this chapter is essential because we will come to know what is right and what is wrong out of this. Of course, we will not focus on what goes on in America, but yes, mostly the actions which we do on earth. So again, here I will not be going through all those actions given the time constraints we have, and also I will only pick out those that are relevant to us in the context of all of us who are college students, and we are in this level we will only look at that. And also the actions surrounding homicide, transgressing the bounds of marriage and brahmacharya, all those actions are discussed, and they are pretty much the same as we know today. But apart from that, it discusses many other aspects such as treatment of animals and birds, and certain other much more nuanced things which we need to get. So, cooking poor birds and animals alive, no, they will be sent to Umbhipaka. Tormenting insignificant creatures like insects and beetles, they will be sent to Andhakupa. Using animals for entertainment that causes suffering to them, like caging of birds and all, that is severely condemned, and for them the hellish planet or the abode of the hellish abode they have is Shula Prota, treating guests without hospitality. Whenever it comes to hospitality and treating guests, we have so much literature, and across traditions, various Puranas and hagiographies of saints discuss this. Many people, in a very common, something that is common across the different stories is that to test a particular saint who would usually be quite poor, he would be a ardent devotee. There will be a guest whom he has to serve, and there will be nothing in his home. And in some way or the other, he will toil himself and get something to serve this guest. And it turns out that the guest would be God. I am not giving any specific example, but this is something we observe, and treating guests is very important. And killing animals out of sport, prana rodha. So in many itihasas and scriptures, we come across some story where a king would go hunting in a forest. He would mistakenly kill some other person and he'll get cursed. And in each of that, there will be a reason why, even though he killed that person or an animal by mistake, though he intended to target something else, he is cursed. And there are several laws of hunting on you should not hunt in these cases and all. But given all that, hunting in general is considered a sin, to kill an animal out of sport. So, because we get all these questions while reading the scriptures. So he did not do that, but it happened as an accident. then how can he be cursed? This is one single explanation to all those curses. Deviation from Vedic path without emergency. So there are certain guidelines set by the Vedas, by the Puranas, and we must not deviate out of it unless there is an absolute necessity. So for that, this Asipatravana, false pride and disrespect to superiors, arrogance towards elders, Charakardama, and greedy, wealthy misery, not doing donations in the Suchimukha. Out of all these, it is quite, we understand this. But the Bhagavata seriously condemns consuming food without sharing it to others and without doing sacrifice. So when sacrifice in the sense, Naivedya. So we must do Naivedya before ourselves having food. And this applies to hospitality also. We look in the case of Ambarisha Charitra. We must first serve the guests before we have the meal ourselves. So here it says, Yastit Vahava Asambhijya Ashanti Yatkinchana Upanatam Anirmita Panchayagya Vayasa Samstuta Saparatra Krimi Bhojane Narakadhamne Nipatati Tatra Shatasahastra Yojane Krimi Kunde Krimi Bhutara Swayam Krimibihi Eva Bhakshyamanaha Krimi Bhojanaha Yavat Tadapratta Prahutat Anirvesham Atmanam Yatayate. It says, a person is considered no better than a crow if after receiving some food, he does not divide it among guests, old men and children, but simply eats himself. But if we actually observe, crows don't do like that. They will call other crows. If he eats it without performing the 5 kinds of sacrifice, after death he is put into the most abominable hell known as Krimi Bhojana. Krimi means worm. In that hell there is a lake of 1 lakh yojana, about 8 lakh miles, wide and filled with worm. In that he will be born as a worm. He will feed on the other worms who will feed on him, and in this way he will suffer in that lake for as many years as there are yojanas in the width of the lake. That is about 1 lakh years. This is to emphasize the importance of serving food and sharing food. Because we must understand that today with so much technology and advancement in science, today we get so much food that we often do not realize its importance. But until very recently, of about 50 years or 60 years back, food was not that much abundant. We all know that. Like just one generation behind our parents, or sometimes in our parents' generation itself, we will get to know how much people had to strive for food, and as a result, Annadana was considered a very high deal. So that is what we learn from this chapter. So now we will move on to the Charita of Vamana Avatara. So there are some really interesting things in this Vamana Avatara that are usually not covered. So here let's set the background. Bali Maharaja is born in the same dynasty as Prahalada Maharaja. So he was actually the grandson of Prahalada Maharaja, and we know the father of Prahalada Maharaja was Hiranyakashipu, whom we learn about him in the Charita of Nrsimha Avatar. So this is the link in that dynasty. So Bali Maharaja once he had a battle with the gods, and in that he was slain. He was defeated in that. but he was saved by Guru Shukracharya. As a result, he served faithfully Guru Shukracharya, and with his blessings, he led a very successful kingdom, and he performed a yajna called Vishwajit Yajna. The name is self-explanatory, Vishwajit. So in that yajna, he got many weapons, and also that is discussed in this verse. I will not go to the verse, however, I just give you explanations. So he got a celestial chariot covered with gold and silk, yellow horses like those of Indra, bow, arrows, celestial armor, and his grandfather Prahlada Maharaja himself gave him a big garland of flowers that would never fade, that will never wither. And Shukracharya gave him a conch shell. So with all now thus empowered, he now conquers the entire world, and now he conquers Indraloka also. And from Indraloka, because fearing Bali, the gods go into hiding. So there are no gods left in Indraloka. This distresses Aditi. Aditi, whom we know as the wife of sage Kashyapa, she is distressed that all her sons are not to be seen. And all this time sage Kashyapa is meditating, he is in dhyana. When he comes back from dhyana, she complains to him, all my sons have gone missing, I am so distressed. So sage Kashyapa does Upadesha of the Payuvrata to Aditi. That Payuvrata is, in that Vrata, what she had to do is that in the month of Phalguna, in the Shukla Paksha, starting from Prathama through Dvadashi, she had to subsist only on milk. She shouldn't consume anything apart from milk, and constantly be engaged in devotional service to the Lord. And she followed his instructions, and as a result, on the 12th day, on Shravana, in Shravana Dvadashi, the Lord appeared. The Lord appeared as not as a dwarf Brahmana, but he appeared in his Chaturbuja form from the womb of Aditi. So this verse explains it. Yat Vapur Bhati Vibhushanayudai, with all his ornaments and weapons in his hand. Pravyakta Chidvayakta Madhara Yadhari Bhaguva Tenaiva Savamano Batuhu Sampashya Tor Divya Gatir Yatanata. The Lord appeared in his original form with ornaments and weapons in his hands. Although this ever-existing form is not visible in the material world, he nonetheless appeared in this form. In the presence of his mother and father, Aditi and Kashyapa, he assumed the form of a Vamana. So he later assumes the form of a dwarf Brahmana, just like a theatrical actor. Now, Shukracharya here he uses the phrase like a theatrical actor as a simile, but it has a much deeper meaning which we shall look later. But for now, let's go on to the Upanyasa of Vamanavatar. Tasya Upaniya Manasya Savitri Savita Abhyavi. In his sacred thread ceremony, when the sacred thread will be worn, and the child will wear the sacred thread for the first time, that the Savitri mantra, which we commonly known as the Gayatri mantra, the god to whom the mantra is dedicated is the Lord Savitra or Savita or Savitri. The mantra is written in a meter called Gayatri Chandas. The Chandas is basically a poetic structure which is followed among many other Chandas. And because of this Chandas, it is very famously known as Gayatri Mantra. This Gayatri mantra was, the Upadesha of this Gayatri mantra was done to Lord Vamana by the god of the mantra itself, Savitra. Brihaspatihi Brahma Sutram. The sacred thread was given by Brihaspati. Mekhalam Kashyapas Dadar. The waistband, like Urdhara, we say, or the Arinyan Kaira, as we call in Tamil, made of munja grass, was given by Kashyapa, his father. Dadau Krishna Jinam Bhumihi, and a deer skin was given by Mother Earth. Dhandam Soma Vanaspatihi, and the staff was, that is a stick, was given by Vanaspati. Kaupina Achadanam Mata. Kaupina or loincloth was given by his mother Aditi. Bhyau Chatram Jagatat Pate. The chatra, the umbrella, was given by the god of sky, Bhyau. Kamandalu Veda Garbhaha. Kamandalu, the water pot, was given by Veda Garbhaha, womb of Veda. This refers to Lord Brahma. Kushan Saptarshaya Dadu. Kushan is the Kushan grass, the Dharpa grass which we say. That was given by the 7 sages, the 9 children of Brahma. Akshamala Maharaja. Saraswati Avyayatmana. Akshamala means rosary. Rosary, so there will be a string with many beads, they use it for chanting. That is given by Saraswati, goddess Saraswati herself. Tasmai Upanitaya Yaksharat Patrikan Adar. So to the person to whom the Upanayana is being done, the Patra to take Bhiksha is given by Kubera, the king of Yakshas. Bhiksham Bhagavati Sakshat Uma Adar Ambika Sati. And the first Bhiksha was given by goddess Uma, the consort of Lord Shiva. So after the sacred thread ceremony, Vamana goes to the sacrificial arena that where Bali was doing the sacrifice with all these things. So there he goes and he doesn't ask for directly for Ghana. He sings the praise of the ancestors of Bali Maharaja, including Hiranyakashipu and Prahalada. This is why where the phrase theatrical actor comes in his in Lord Vamana's account of this life of Hiranyakashipu. That account is the complete distortion of what we know from Narasimha Avadara. It is completely not in sync. Of course, this is Lord Vamana is not apparent on the surface. He is not speaking the truth in the form, but there is a very deep meaning in it. I just read it verbatim in English. O king of Asuras, long ago, when Vishnu rescued the earth from the depths of Garbhodaka ocean, he met the mighty Hiranyaksha in battle. The combat was fierce, and only with great effort did Vishnu bring him down. Later, reflecting on the uncommon strength of your forebear, he considered himself truly victorious. But when Hiranyakashipu heard of his brother's fall, rage blazed within him. Grasping a trishul and resembling death himself, he ran towards the arbor of Vishnu to take revenge. Now, Vishnu, being the foremost of Mayavis and knowing well the flow of time, thought like this: whenever I flee, he will follow, just as death follows all creatures. Therefore, I shall enter the very core of his heart, for he, seeing only outwardly, will not perceive me within. Having decided this, Vishnu, in a subtle form, invisible to the senses, entered the body of Hiranyakashipu through the breath in his nostril. When the Asura stormed into the Lord's residence and found it empty, his fury increased. He searched the whole earth, the higher worlds, the direction, the skies, the oceans and the caves, but Vishnu was found nowhere. In frustration he wrote, I have searched the entire universe. The slayer of my brother must have gone to the place from which no one returns. Surely he is dead. And he remained angry at Vishnu till his death. Of course, there is no mention of Nrsimha here, and this is not actually the Charita also. But here he says so many things that the Lord resides within. And many people, whenever they think about God, they always want to complain, like how Hiranyakashipu wants to fight with Vishnu, or they want to deny his existence, like how he assumes he is dead. But they always forget to search within. And across different sampradayas, though there are differences, it is at least agreed that the soul of human beings is a reflection of Paramatma. And so self-reflection is very important for realization. And now let's go back to the Charita. Bali welcomed him warmly and offered any gift he desired. Vamanadeva requested only 3 strides of land, and realizing that he is Lord Vishnu and foreseeing what is going to happen, Shukracharya advises Bali not to comply to his request. But Bali had already given his word, and he is also a Dharma Raja. He is not an irreligious person. He says, I have given the word, I must live up to my word. So I shall do the Dharma. So then many of us know what followed. Lord Vamana took the form, a very huge form, and he measured the entire earth in one stride, the entire sky in another stride, and in 2 strides, Bali Maharaja was left with nothing to give to Lord Vamana. Thus, here, effectively, Bali Maharaja has not kept his word and he has made a mistake. So, Garuda, the Vahana of Vishnu, comes and he arrests Bali Maharaja. Now he is bound by Garuda. In this situation, Bali Maharaja he offers his head as the 3rd place for Lord Vishnu to keep his feet. Now, enchanted by the devotion of his devotee Bali, Lord Vishnu he gave the realm of Sutala. So that is, you can call it an abode or another planet that is much better than heaven for Bali to reside after his life on earth, which ends there itself. And he says that the Sutala will be guarded by Vishnu personally. So that is the level at which the Lord treats his devotees. Prahlada Maharaja and Bali's wife Vidyavati praised the Lord, and then the Lord allowed Indra and all the gods, Indra to reclaim his throne, and all the gods came back to Indraloka. Meanwhile, Shukracharya was engaged in all his service in the entire clan of demons. As it said, he had also accumulated a lot of fruitive actions. He had accumulated a lot of karma. Shukracharya chants the name of the Lord, and he is also freed from all his karma. And they all glorify the deeds of Vamana. And here is where the Charita, we may conclude the Charita from now. Let's go on to the Charita of Ambarisha and Nabhaga and Ambarisha. So this is described in the 4th and 5th chapters of the 9th canto. Let's set the background. The son of Vaivasvata Manu was Nabhaga and his son was Nabhaga. Nabhaga lived in Gurukula for many years for education, and during this time, his brothers, the sons of Nabhaga, the other sons of Nabhaga, divided the kingdom among themselves. When Nabhaga comes back from Gurukula, he asks for his share, and his brothers say, "For your share, we have left our father as your share of the kingdom." But Nabhaga was a very innocent person. He doesn't apparently, as far as the Bhagavata, if we read it, there is no account of Nabhaga fighting with his brothers and all. He accepts it and he goes to his father. And his father tells him that for your livelihood, I am not your share. And you cannot rely on me for all your life. So what you should do is, he gives these instructions. So go to the sacrificial arena of the descendants of Angira. You go to the place where the descendants of Angira are going to do a great sacrifice. But on the sixth day, they will be bewildered in performing sacrifice and will make mistakes in their daily duties. Nabhaga foresees what is going to happen in the sacrifice by the descendants of Angira, and describe two Vedic hymns pertaining to Vaishwadeva, Vishnu, effectively. And then they have come, because of that, they will be able to successfully conclude their sacrifice, and they will give you whatever they had collected from this sacrifice, and you live with whatever they give you. And he does Upadesha of two Vedic mantras to Nabhaga, and Nabhaga also does as his father said. And the descendants of Angira and the sage, they conclude their sacrifice, and while they are going to their heavenly abode, they give to Nabhaga whatever they had collected from the sacrifice. But at this point, a very dark, kind of black person comes from the north, as is described in the Bhagavata, and he claims that everything that has been collected in this sacrifice belongs to me. Nabhaga says, no, as per the instructions of my father, the sages who have done the sacrifice have given this to me, and it is mine. And the person says, okay, if that is the case, let us go to your father and resolve the dispute. And both of them go to Nabhaga's father, Nabhaga, and they realize that this person was Lord Shiva. And Nabhaga advises Nabhaga to give away whatever he had collected, and with a single word he accepts, and he prays Lord Shiva for mercy. He gives all the due respect, and also whatever that was collected in the sacrifice. Now, pleased with the devotion of Nabhaga, so this is the verse that explains that Nabhagastam pranamyaha Tavesha kila vastukam Ityahane pita brahmachirasa tvam prasadave. Thereupon, after offering obeisances to Lord Shiva, Nabhaga said, "O worshipable Lord, everything in this arena is yours. This is the assertion of my father. Now with great respect, I bow my head before you, begging your mercy." Lord Shiva says, "Yatte pita vadat dharmam, tam cha satyam prabhashase, dadami te mantra drisho jnanam, brahma sanatanam." Lord Shiva says, whatever your father has said is the right dharmic path, and you are also speaking the truth, the Satya. Therefore, I, who know the Vedic mantras, shall explain transcendental knowledge to you. Saying so, Lord Shiva also gives away all the wealth back to Nabhaga, and he leaves. This is the Charita of Nabhaga. Nabhaga was Ambarisha's father. Ambarisha was the emperor of the entire earth, and he increasingly became a devotee of Lord Vishnu, and he engaged in his service. These three stanzas beautifully describe what Ambarisha did. Sabari Mana Krishna Pada Ravindayo, his mind building upon the lotus feet of Krishna. Vachamsi Vaikunta Gunanu Varnaina, his words in describing the glory of God. Karau Hare Mandira Marjanadishu, Shrutim Chakara Chita Satka Todhaye, his hands in cleaning the Lord's temple and ears in hearing the words spoken by Krishna or by his devotees. Mukunda Lingalaya Darshane Drishau, he engaged his eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna, his temples, and places like Mathura and Vrindavana. Tadvritya Gatra Sparshanga Sangamam, his sense of touch in touching the bodies of his devotees. Granam cha Tatpada Saroja Saurahe, the sense of smell in smelling the fragrance of tulasi offered to the Lord. Sri Matulasya Rasanam Tadarpite, his tongue in tasting the Lord's prasada. Padav Hare Kshetra Padamu Sarpane, his legs in walking to the holy places and temples of the Lord. Shiro Rishikesha Padabi Vandane, his head in bowing down before the Lord. And Kamam cha dasye natu kama kamyaya yatottama shloka janashrayaratihi, all his desires in serving the Lord 24 hours a day. Indeed, Maharaja Ambarisha never desired anything for his own self-gratification. He engaged all his senses in devotional service in various engagements related to the Lord. This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and be completely free from all material desires. Naturally, you will get this question. We say he was the emperor of earth, but if he spends all his effort and energy in praying to God, how did he manage his empire? This question is not being raised in the Bhagavata, but the answer is given in the following verse itself. Evam sada karma kalapa matmana pare diyatne bhagavatya lokshaje sarvatma bhavam viradhanma himam kanishta vipra vihita shashasaha. In performing his prescribed duties as king, the Maharaja always offered the results of his royal activities to the Lord Krishna, who is the enjoyer of everything and is beyond the perception of material senses. He certainly took advice from the learned people, the Brahmanas, who were faithful devotees of the Lord, and thus, with this advice, he ruled the planet Earth without difficulty. Now, this is something that is also applicable not just to kings or people who are involved in managing countries, but for everyone. We have certain responsibilities apart from spiritual path, and how will we manage both? We may have this question. The answer is the Lord will take care of it as it is given in this verse. He with his queen, his wife, they for 1 year they undertook the fast of Ekadashi. The important thing about Ekadashi fast is that some people even if we don't do the Ekadashi fast properly or strictly, the Parana done on Dvadashi is very important, and without Parana there is there is no merit. The full merit of doing Ekadashi fast is not attained. Basically, on the proper Muhurta, we must consume something on Dvadashi and formally break the fast of Ekadashi. So, for 1 year, he and his queen break the fast of Ekadashi, and by the end of 1 year, in one Dvadashi, when he was about to break his fast, the sage Durvasa comes there. Now, Durvasa comes and Maharaja Ambarisha accepts Durvasa as a guest and he offers meal to Durvasa first as per the laws of hospitality. But Durvasa says, I will have it, but I should go to the river bank and I should do some rituals and then I will have the food. So Durvasa goes to the river bank and he begins to meditate on God. And it was getting late. The Muhurta was slipping away. He has to conclude the fast. He cannot postpone it. Now he took advice from his acharyas and he was advised that he drink simple water on that Muhurta to formally conclude the fast, and he may have this meal when Durvasa comes back. Soon after he takes water, Durvasa comes and with his mystic powers, he realizes that Ambarisha has taken water before he came and he becomes angry. He says we are transgressed the laws of hospitality and he plucks a lock of hair from his head and that transforms into a fiery demon carrying a trishula and chases and he runs towards Ambarisha. Ambarisha was not moved at all, but as soon as the demon began to approach Ambarisha, Sudarshana Chakra comes and destroys this demon into ashes and it begins to chase Durvasa. So it is described like this: as fire in the forest immediately burns to ashes an angry snake, so by the previous order of the Lord, the Sudarshana Chakra immediately burned to ashes the created demon to protect the Lord's devotee. And it began to follow, chase Durvasa. Durvasa began to run in all directions. He went to Lord Brahma, who claimed that he cannot help him, and then he went to Lord Shiva in Kailasha, who redirects him to Lord Vishnu. When he goes to Lord Vishnu, this is what he says: Aham Bhakta Paradhinaha. I am under the control of my devotees. Yasvatantra ivad vijay. Sadhubir grasta hridayo bhaktair bhakta jana priya. I am not at all independent. Because my devotees are completely devoid of material desires, I sit only within the core of their hearts. What to speak of my devotee? Even those who are devotees of my devotees are very dear to me. Matsevaya pratitam te salokya vichatushtayan nechanti sevaya purnaha kritonyat kala vikrutam. My devotees who are always satisfied to be engaged in my loving service are not interested even in the 4 kinds of liberation, the 4 kinds of moksha, although these are automatically achieved by their service. What then is to be said of such perishable happiness as elevation to higher planetary systems? Now, I quickly go through the 4 kinds of liberation. Salokya, which is basically residence in the same abode or realm or world as God, like Vaikuntha. Sarupya, we should be careful having similar form as the Lord, not same form as in some cases how it is translated. In that form, basically the liberated soul will have the same form as Lord Vishnu, with the exception of the Srivatsa Chinha, which is a small triangular mark on the chest representing goddess Lakshmi. They will also have Sudarshana Chakra, Shankha and all that. Samikya, being close to the Lord, doing service to him like garlanding him, close service to him. And Sashti, sharing in the opulences. So whatever activities the Lord will be involved in, they will also be involved. Tapo vidya cha vipranam nishreya sakare ube te te eva durvini tasya kalpete karturanyata. For a Brahmana, austerity and learning are certainly auspicious, but when acquired by a person who is not gentle, such austerity and learning are most dangerous. Many of our acharyas and the bhaktas who have in this Kali Yuga itself, they are very good examples of the meaning of this verse. Whenever we think about bhaktas, we usually think what comes to our mind is simplicity. But in many cases, they are not as simple as they are portrayed or the way they portray themselves. I'll take one example of Purandaradasa. If you look at most of his kirtanas are composed on the different forms of Lord Vishnu. They are composed in a very simple form of Kannada. That doesn't seem very poetic and it's very easy to understand. And even in that, he doesn't discuss so much of itihasa and all. Like you take Kanvali Vyatako, Kaveri Ranganamurada, or in which he describes the Sri Ranganatha Swami of Sri Rangam, or in Kandina would be a Krishna Rayana. He in those poems he describes his enchantment, his love, and his how he enjoys the skala and the Lord, his forms, his alankara. Most of his kirtanas are like this, but he has composed a smaller number of kirtanas, some of them in Sanskrit also, where his knowledge is commendable and many of us cannot understand that at all. And in those kirtanas he has composed on various gods. And if you look at them, you will be surprised that a Vaishnavite devotee will have so much knowledge about the other god. One example of such composition is Chandrachuda Shiva Shankara by him. Chandrachuda Shiva Shankara Parvati Ramana Sundara Mriga Pinaka Dhanudhara Gangashira Gajacharmam Haradhara Gangashira Gajacharmam Haradhara. This is just 2 lines. In this you will find 4 descriptions and 1 story also in 2 words. If you look at the full, I did not understand many of this. I had to read about it to understand. Another example is Venkatachala Nilayam Vaikuntapura Vasa in Sanskrit. So you can read about. So this is just one example. I know there are many other bhaktas like this. The point I wanted to make is that though people choose to follow the path of bhakti yoga, it is not that they are not capable or they are not knowledgeable in other paths of liberation.
So this Sarupya, is that moksha?
Essentially, yes. So let's come back to what happened to Guru Pastor. He approached Ambarisha, he came back to Ambarisha for protection, he fell at his feet. So Ambarisha begins to sing the praise of Sudarshana Chakra and prays to him to not hurt his guest Durvasa, and Sudarshana Chakra becomes calm, and then he serves meal to Durvasa, and he also takes his meal. And Durvasa goes back singing the praise of Ambarisha. And much later, Ambarisha divided his kingdom among his sons, who were also as much qualified as him, and left for Vanaprastha. He left for the forest to concentrate his mind fully upon Lord Vasudeva. इत्येतत् पुण्यमाख्यान अम्बरीशस्य भूपते सङ्कीर्तयन्ननुध्यायन् भक्तौ भगवते भवेत्। अम्बरीशस्य चरितं येषुण्वन्ति महात्मनः मुक्तिं प्रयान्ति ते सर्वे भक्त्या विष्णु प्रसादतः. This is the Phalastuti of discussing the Ambarisha Charita. Anyone who chants this narration or even thinks of this narration about the activities of Maharaja Ambarisha certainly becomes a pure devotee of the Lord. By the grace of the Lord, those who hear about the activities of Maharaja Ambarisha, the great devotee, certainly become liberated or become devotees without delay. Now we shall move on to the next in our list, the Charita of Bhagavata and Ganga, which is described in the 9th chapter of the 9th canto. So the background is Ganga is in Brahmaloka. She has the power to purify people who do snana in her and take away the sins. And this is what is the state of Ganga. And about Bhagirata, one of his ancestors was Sagra. Sagra performed the Ashwamedha Yajna. So I'll just briefly tell what Ashwamedha Yajna is. It is a ritual in which a king allows his horse along with his army to roam to different kingdoms, and if one king accepts the supremacy of this king, they should allow the horse to go about its course. If they challenge the king, they should fight the army, and that will be like a war. This is the Ashwamedha Yajna. Sagra is a very powerful king who does the Ashwamedha Yajna. Lord Indra, who is concerned about the powers of Sagra, he hides the horse in the ashrama of sage Kapila, and the army goes in search of the horse to the ashrama, and they mistook Kapila for stealing the horse, and they insult the sage. An insulted Kapila curses them, and they are all burnt to ashes along with Sagra, and he curses that their souls will be trapped in those ashes and they will not be liberated at all. This is the curse. To relieve this curse, Ganga had to be brought to earth, and only with the holy water of Ganga they could be relieved. Two kings in the dynasty of Sagra, Maharaja Ayushman and his son Maharaja Dilipa, they performed various austerities to try to please Ganga to come to earth, but they failed, and they passed away before they were able to achieve this feat. And but Bhagirata, the son of Dilipa, eventually succeeded in this task, and Ganga appears before him as a result of his penances and ready to grant him. Maharaja Bhagirata asks for Ganga to flow on earth, and Ganga expresses certain concerns to Bhagirata, as we shall see in this conversation. She says that her current is so strong that it will pierce the earth when she comes from Brahmaloka. And she says, Kim chaham na bhuvam yaste nara maya mujantyadam rijami karagam vaham rajanstatra vichinnyatam. O king, I do not wish to go down to the planet Earth, for there the people in general will bathe in my water to cleanse themselves of the reactions of their sinful deeds. When all these sinful reactions accumulate in me, how shall I become free from them? You must consider this very carefully. then what will be my fate? I will become like a papi, she says. For that, Bhagirata says, Shri Bhagirata Uvacha, Sadhavo Nyasina Shanta Brahmishta Loka Pavanaha Harantyagam Tenga Sangha Teshvaste Hyaga Vidharihi. Bhagirata says, those who are saintly because of devotional service and are therefore in the renounced order, free from material desires and who are pure devotees, expert in following the regulative principles mentioned in the Vedas, are always glorious and pure in their behavior and are able to deliver all fallen souls. They have the capability to counter the effects of the sins. When such devotees bathe in your water, the sinful reactions accumulated from other people will certainly be counteracted. For such devotees, always keep in the core of their heart the Supreme Personality of Godhead who can vanquish all sinful reactions. Such saintly people will also do snana in your water and you will be freed from all the sinful reactions. And he also says, Dhara Ishyati Devegam Rudrastvatma Sharirinam Yasminno Tanidam Protam Vishwam Shatiga Tantushu. Like a cloth woven of threads, extending for its length and breadth, this entire universe and all its latitude and longitude is situated under different potencies of the Lord. Lord Shiva is the incarnation of that Lord, and he represents the super soul in the embodied soul. He can sustain your forceful waves on his head. Saying so, Mother Ganga agreed, and Bhagirata does penance towards Lord Shiva. He is also pleased with his devotion and he agrees to carry Ganga on his head. And following this, King Bhagirata takes a chariot and with such a fast pace, he moves forward, leading Ganga who follows him, and they go through different countries and lands, cleansing all those places of the sinful deeds, and finally they reach where the ashes of the Sagra and his army, the ashes of Sagra and his army, and then from that current the water sprinkles on the ashes and they are liberated. So this is the Charita of Bhagavata and Ganga. Now we shall move on to a quick summary of the Surya Vamsha. Okay. So the Surya Vamsha descends from Lord Surya, who married Sanjana, and one of their children was Vaivasvata Manu. Vaivasvata Manu had 10 sons, among them one was Ikshvaku. Okay. So Ikshvaku, we know, was the king who had his capital as Ayodhya. Okay. And in Ikshvaku we have so many kings, Kukshihi, Puranjaya, Anaranya, and there are many itihasas surrounding these kings as well. We will not discuss them in much detail, but following that dynasty, we now come to Lord Rama. Okay? So in the Bhagavata, Ramavatara is described in the 10th and 11th chapters of the 9th canto. Very briefly, it is actually a proper summary of the Ramayana. But one thing I consider about the Ramayana is that the difference between Bhagavata and Ramayana, apart from the summary of that same itihasa, is that the Bhagavata is for us to understand the nature of the Lord, while the Ramayana is something else also. It is it is to teach us dharma in general. Because if you look at Ramayana, we generally have this saying in Hindi, Ram Katha Ram Se Kahi Aage. There are many other characters in the Ramayana who give various aspects of Dharma for different people. You take Sita, you take Lakshmana. Each of them have different roles to play in the Ramayana, and their dharmas also differ accordingly. And it is not all about Lord Rama, his teaching and his heroes. It is so much more in the Ramayana. Whereas his summary in the Bhagavata is meant for us to understand the incarnation of Lord Vishnu as Rama. So we'll quickly go through a summary of the Ramayana. Dasharatha, through various penances, he had 4 children, Rama, Bharata, Lakshmana, Shatrugna. And Lord Rama is praised by all, he is loved by all, and later he is sent into exile for 14 years in a forest by the orders of his father due to a promise with his wife. And then after in those 14 years, Lord Rama, we have the tale of Shagal, and then the Parana of Sita by Ravana, and then he makes war with Ravana. For that he assembles a huge army of Vanaras. We learn about the activities of Hanuman, Sugriva, Jambavana, and also the service of Lakshmana all the time during Vanavasa, how he served Sita as his mother and Rama. And then in that battle, Lord Rama emerges victorious, and he destroys Ravana, and then Ravana is also liberated, and then he brings back Sita with him to Ayodhya, and then he again which we may say apparently it would look like an unfortunate twist in fate, in destiny, but it is something that is predestined by an earlier curse of Lord Vishnu. He had to send Sita again to forest, where she gives birth to Lava and Kusha, and then finally Lava and Kusha are reunited with Rama, and that is what is described in the Bhagavata. So there is the Kalashruti for saying that for reciting and discussing the pastimes of Lord Rama. Purusho Ramacharitam Sharanai Rupa Dharayan Anushamya Paro Rajan Karna Bandai Vimuchyate. O King Parikshit, anyone who already received the narration concerning the characteristics of Lord Ramachandra's pastimes ultimately be freed from the disease of ending, and thus be liberated from the bondage of future activities or karma. Now we will go to a summary of the Chandra Vamsha, that parallel to the Surya Vamsha, it descends from Chandra through Buddha, Pururaha, Aluhu, Nakusha and Yayati. Okay? Chandra, from Chandra comes Buddha, from Buddha Pururavaha, then from Pururavaha Aluhu, and then Nakusha, and from Nakusha we come to Yayati. Okay. So we'll just go through the charita of Yayati before we continue down the Chandra Vamsha. Yayati's father was Nahusha. Nahusha had 6 sons, and Nahusha was cursed to become a snake And the story of why he was cursed is very briefly described, saying that he had offended um, Suchi, the wife of Indra, and he was cursed to become a snake, a python on earth. And following this, his eldest son was Yati. Yati knew that if he becomes a king, he will also be carried away in the worldly responsibilities and attachments. So instead, he chooses for uh, he says he didn't want to become a king, and he goes on the path of devotion to the Lord. As a result, Yayati, the second eldest son of Vishal, becomes the king. By providence, Yayati married the daughter of Shukracharya. He was a Brahmana and Yayati was a Kshatriya. Nonetheless, Yayati married Shukracharya's daughter Devayani, who had a friend called Sharmishta. So, Sharmishta was the daughter of Vrishaparva. That story is discussed like this. So, Sharmishta and Devayani were one day sporting in water with many friends, and all of a sudden they see Lord Shiva on his bull Nandi with Uma, his consort, and they immediately dress themselves. But Sharmishta mistakenly puts on Devayani's clothes. Devayani becomes angry. She rebukes Sharmishta, who also becomes very angry, and they have a fight, and Devayani is thrown into a well by Sharmishta. By chance, King Yayati came there to drink water from the well, and he found Devayani and he rescued her from the well. And as a result, Devayani accepted King Yayati as her husband. But it has been such an insult. She was thrown into the well without clothes. So she goes to her father, Shukracharya, crying, and she complains about Sharmishta. As a result, Sharmishta was cursed by Shukracharya to, he was very angry, and as a result, Vrishaparva, the father of Sharmishta, offers Sharmishta as a maid servant of Devayani, as a prayaschita, or you can say as a now that Sharmishta is a maid servant of Devayani, now wherever Devayani should go, Sharmishta also should go. As a result, Sharmishta also married King Yayati, but on the condition with Devayani that she will not have any children with King Yayati, and she will only do the job of being her maid servant. She will not have any place as the wife of King Yayati. But and over time, Devayani has had a son with King Yayati, and Sharmishta also wants to have a son. She also looks at her, and she also wanted to have a son. And she persuades King Yayati to impregnate her and to have a son with her. Initially, King Yayati refuses, but eventually he gives in to Sharmishta's arguments, and they have a child. Now Devayani is now furious. You have broken the word you had given to me, and she again goes back to Shukracharya complaining of what. Now it was her husband also involved in the crime. Now Shukracharya curses Yayati that you will lose your youth and you will become a very old person very early. He curses so, and now King Yayati realizes his fault, and he prays to him please do not do this to me. It is such a terrible curse you are doing. As a result, Shukracharya says this curse can be broken on the condition that you can exchange your old age with one of your sons. And by then, he already had five sons. Yayati. And the eldest was Yadu, and then we have Yadu, and the last child was Puru. Okay. So he requests for each of the sons to exchange their youth with him, but all of them refuse, and the last one, Puru, accepts it. And now with his youth again, he goes on with his materialistic life, and he spends time with young women, and for a very long time he spends his life like this. But eventually this desire never died, and over time he was disgusted with himself, of his activities and of the material desires he had been having for so long. And then he comes to his wife Devayani and he asks for forgiveness. And he then asks for forgiveness from his son Guru also, having realized that they will never come to an end. So he describes this as putting clean, white, polished butter into the fire will not extinguish it. That is, our expectations that our material desires would be fulfilled with experience is as stupid as an expectation that we try to extinguish a fire with water. Eventually, he again asks forgiveness from Guru, and he exchanges his old age with Guru. Guru becomes a young person again, and then eventually he divides his kingdom among his 5 sons, and Guru gets the most important part of the kingdom. While all the other 4 sons, they are almost kind of like a curse. They get very insignificant parts. Is it not already?
A bit louder.
So that's so he having enjoyed sense gratification for many years, Yati was accustomed to it but gave it up entirely in a moment, just as bird flies away from the nest as soon as its wings have grown. That is the realization of Yati, describes Shukracharya. And also sa sannivasam sa sukridam prapayamiva gachata vijnayeshvara tantranam maya virachitam prabhoho sarvatra sangamutsrijya swapnau pamyena bhargari krishne manasa samadeshya yadunul Linga Mahatmana. Thereafter, Devayani, the daughter of Shukracharya, also understood her materialistic association of husband, friends, and relatives is like the association of a hotel full of tourists. This is how it is. Of course, we do not condemn Devayani so much in this, but her activities were also a bit. It is reflective of her association with her husband, her possession, like that. And the society, the relationships of society, friendship, and love are created by the Maya of Supreme Personality of Godhead, exactly as in a dream. By the grace of Krishna, Devayani gave up her imaginary position in the material world. She also realizes what her position was. And she too, by fixing her mind on Krishna, achieved liberation from the gross and subtle bodies. From this, we will trace up to Krishna, the Chandra Vamsha, and conclude our discussion for today. So the youngest son of Kuru gives rise to the Kuru Vamsha, and the eldest son Yadu gives rise to the Yadu Vamsha. From Yadu we have Kroshta and Vijinavanta and so on, up to we have Shuraha, who was the king of Mathura, and Mathurapati, and we ended Vasudeva. From Vasudeva we have Krishna, Subhadra, and Balarama. And this is and at the same time, if we trace the Kuru Vamsha, we have Kuru and then Bharata, Kuru, Shantanu, up to Vichitra Virya. Vichitra Virya has two sons, Dhritarashtra, whose sons are the Kauravas, and Pandu, whose sons are the Pandavas. Now, at this stage, the two lineages, they converge. After the war, before the war itself, the marriage happens, but at the end of the war, there is only one person left. Arjuna would have married Subhadra, and their son is Abhimanyu, whose son is Parikshit. At the end of the war, the only surviving higher of the two Vamshas is a single person, Parikshit, who is the prime audience of the Bhagavata Purana. With this, we conclude today's discussion. Thank you. I'd like to, before I continue, to acknowledge the entire Samiti for their support. Shweta, Srivarshini, Jayatirtha, Bharakesh, Atharva, and each person who has contributed, Srivatsav, everyone who had contributed to this, to making this possible, like setting up this venue and all. And thank you very much. Really thank you. We have a bhajan right now.
Swayam Prakash, you are also singing. You are also singing. She is singing.
Ram
नारद प्रह्लाद गौर भक्त वृंद गाये, नारद प्रह्लाद गौर भक्त वृंद गाये, भक्त वृंद गाये परमानंद आये, भक्त वृंद गाये परमानंद आये। मधुमय दूराया मधुर नाम तेरा, 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 मधुर नाम तेरा तेरा 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 मधुर नाम तेरा। भक्त वृंद की जय जय, विष्णु नाम की जय जय, भक्त वृंद की जय जय, विष्णु नाम की जय जय, भक्त वृंद की जय जय, विष्णु नाम की जय जय, भक्त वृंद की जय जय, विष्णु नाम की जय जय। गोविंद गोपाल जय जय जय, 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 गोविंद गोपाल जय जय जय। भक्त वृंद की जय जय, विष्णु नाम की जय जय, भक्त वृंद की जय जय, विष्णु नाम की जय जय, भक्त वृंद की जय जय, विष्णु नाम की जय जय, भक्त वृंद की जय जय, विष्णु नाम की जय जय। गोविंद गोपाल जय जय जय, गोविंद गोपाल जय जय जय, गोविंद गोपाल जय जय जय, गोविंद गोपाल जय जय जय। गोविंद नाम संकीर्तनं गोविंदा साधु मंडली की जय।
राहु केतु नेतारं रविशशि कुजशनैकद राहु केतु नेतारं राजकुमारं रामं पवनजात मवनिजात मनोहरं राजकुमारं रामं पवनजात मवनिजात मनोहरं भजते मानसा रामचंद्र की
जय जानकी कांत स्मरणं साकेत निलयाय सनतमुनि पूजाय कलयुगीत निलयाय साकेत दुमदनाय सम्यगुण निलयाय राजाधिराजाय कालाय जयमङ्गलं नित्य शुभमङ्गलम् नवनीतघोराय कण्ठाधिगोप गोरक्षिणे गोपिका वल्लभाय नारदमुनीन्द्रनुत कामधेयाय नारायणानुत विठ्ठलगुरवे जयमङ्गलं नित्य शुभमङ्गलम् जयमङ्गलं नित्य शुभमङ्गलम् जानकीकान्तस्मरणं